Thank Goodness You're Here is a recently released comedy-adventure game out since August 1st for pretty much all platforms, developed by Cold Supper and published by Panic Inc., who, for instance, previously blessed us with the release of both Firewatch and the zany and wacky stealth puzzler Untitled Goose Game, which I already was very fond of, so tapping into a similar vein, it shouldn't be too big of a surprise that Thank Goodness managed to slap its way into my heart as well. In this video, I will elaborate why and why I think you should check it out too. The game takes place in 1980s UK, or is it the 70s? Early 90s? Frankly, it's not really clear, but it matters not. More specifically, the fictional Northern English town of Barnsworth, which is home to a diverse, although extremely odd and shockingly dependent cast of characters. This town and the interaction with its residents are both playground and stage for the upcoming events, which will transpire throughout the story of Thank Goodness You're Here. I don't even know how to frame this properly, but I feel like there isn't that much of a story synopsis to be unraveled here without spoiling too much, so I'll try to keep this section as brief as possible. Basically, Thank Goodness You're Here sees you assuming the role of an unnamed traveling salesperson who's working for a company that sells, well, something. At no point is it ever disclosed what goods or services are on offer here. Your boss just tells you,
"They need what we're selling, see? I've got you a meeting with the Lord Mayor today, so don't miss that bus. Are you listening? Get going!"
And off to Barnsworth you go to get your audience with the town's mayor. Actually meeting him proves to be a little more difficult than initially thought, however, and our tiny yellow bastard will find himself in the most peculiar situations soon enough. So that's basically how much I can reveal about the game's premise without turning this video into a complete spoiler fest. So let's leave it at that for now and get right into the gameplay section of this video. Let me start this chapter of the review by showing you a picture of the game's control scheme. As you can see, you can move around, jump and slap, and that's it. That's basically all you can do, and it's all you need really, because you interact with objects and talk to people by simply slapping them. It's quite liberating if you think about it, and maybe that's just the way they interact with each other in Northern England. There are light platforming sections where your ability to jump comes in, but most of the time you'll explore the town and its striking locales, like the pub, the fish and chips joint, or the meat dimension, by simply walking around and smacking a whole bunch of stuff. As far as game progression goes, it's a pretty linear affair. After arriving, you start your Barnsworth adventure in the town hall in front of the mayor's office, after getting told by the receptionist here that the mayor will see you soon. Waiting around the reception until he's ready to meet you is kinda lame though, although you can certainly just stay put and wait. So you set out to kill some time. And that leads to completing all kinds of odd jobs given to you by the townsfolk over the course of the game, which in turn opens up new areas of Barnsworth for you to explore. So you'll get around a lot, often visiting parts of the town you've already seen before too. You're doing the rounds, so to speak. Now, those tasks mostly start out innocently enough, like mowing the lawn or getting milk for some kid's afternoon tea, but how these jobs ultimately play out in front of your eyes upon progressing or completing them has to be the most bizarre and absurd chain of events ever made in a video game. Again, I will try not to spoil what exactly happens in detail. I mean, I'm showing footage about stuff in the background, that's bad enough. But it's all extremely unhinged, hilarious, and keeps you guessing what happens next. Thank Goodness You're Here is generally a very funny game in my opinion, and it often left me wheezing as well as staring in disbelief at what I have just witnessed in front of my computer screen. Although I'm sure that the game's humor will not be everyone's cup of tea. See what I did there? because it's assumed that British people drink tea all the time. Anyway. So yeah, most of the fun to be had in this game, and ultimately the selling point, comes from interacting with the townsfolk, how they interact with each other, and in what insane and possibly disturbing situation you will find yourself in next. A lot of that stems from the fact that the dialogues as well as the voice work here are so damn good. Seriously, shout out to the writers and actors in this, it's such a joy to listen to their ramblings. Also, I changed the subtitles in my game to dialect for a more immersive experience, although that also led to some minor language barriers. I mean, what the heck is a sarnie? And why the hell does every single item cost 10 bobs? What are bobs anyway? Let me know in the comments. A little side note, there's no journal to keep track of missions, nor are there any obnoxious pointers that lead the way. Instead, you have to figure things out for yourself. But don't worry, the game is easy enough as far as the pure gameplay side of things go. Come to think of it, Thank Goodness You're Here plays a little bit like a point-and-click adventure. Well, without the pointing and clicking, of course. So, before wrapping up this video, I want to talk a bit about the technical side of things, as well as the visuals and audio design. First of all, the game runs great, as you can probably imagine by looking at the graphics alone. I mean, it doesn't look particularly demanding is what I'm trying to say here. But the game was made in Unity, and if you've watched my previous reviews, I always mention that such titles tend to run a bit crappy on my machine sometimes. Depends on the game really. No problems for me here though. As far as the art style is concerned, Thank Goodness You're Here just has this charming, cute, cartoony look. It's all hand-drawn as far as I can tell, and it has its own distinctive style, which I'm a big fan of. The different characters, including your own little guy of course, often look like caricatures of people you would see on the street in real life, and that adds to the comicality, I think. I also found it very fun to discover all the little details hidden all around Barnsworth, like some profane graffiti smeared on a random wall in the background and stuff like that. The usage of real-life archive footage in the intro and menus, for instance, is a really cool touch too. Keep in mind though that, despite appearances, this is not a children's game at all. Please don't play this with your kid. Now, as far as sound design goes, I don't have anything bad to say about that either. Quite the contrary, actually. The OST is great, it's very trumpet heavy, and accentuates what happens on screen perfectly, I feel. There are whimsical, uplifting songs, but melancholic and more mellow ones too, like Herbert's Theme or March, which kinda sounds like a song you would play on a funeral procession maybe? But yeah, the soundtrack as well as sound effects in general are really good and fitting. I feel like Cold Supper put extra effort into creating or finding the most realistic slapping sounds known to man. I mean, it makes sense in the end, doesn't it? As I briefly mentioned earlier, the voice acting in Thank Goodness is excellent. You can hear that all the actors and actresses had a lot of fun in the booth recording their lines, and if you didn't know already, Matt Berry is in here too, so that's another point on the awesomeness scale in my book. The player character is a mute though, so no voice acting for this guy.
Silent protagonist trope.
But together with the great audio design, they are really breathing life into the game world and its residents, so concerning audio and visual design as a whole, it all comes together beautifully and has a very high level of quality all around, I'd say. And that finally brings me to the... So I'll kick off this review section with some minor gripes first, because there are one or two critique points I have with the game. Most glaring, if you've watched or read other reviews about Thank Goodness You're in the Know already, is the game's length. I've beaten it 3 times in total and got all the achievements in the process, and I think I managed to do this over the span of 4 hours or so. I'm aware that you can beat the game with 100% completion in your first playthrough, but I went in completely blind, so I had to do multiple ones because I've missed some stuff. If you don't care about being a completionist and getting all achievements, you're probably looking at 2 hours game time for one casual playthrough, I'd say. So there's not a whole lot of game to be had here. On the other hand, as one person on Steam said, you could also pay $15 to $20 to go see a movie and probably be far less entertained than playing this game, And he is totally right. There's much to see and discover though, so no one will stop you if you want to take your time. Another point I want to talk about: you can't create multiple save files or profiles at all, so you're stuck with a single save file. There's no chapter select either, so if you've missed some stuff or want to play an earlier section again, you'd have to start a new game. It could be possible that Cold Supper will add some kind of chapter selection in the future, but I really don't know, I'm just speculating here. It would be very cool though. Now, these are really all the quote-unquote bad things I have to say about the game, and in my opinion they get easily overshadowed by the sheer amount of creativity and quality anyway. The fine mates working at Cold Supper have created a true labor of love here, and you can feel that the team and all the people involved had a lot of fun developing it while you play, thank goodness you're here. So if you're in the market for an extremely funny title full of memorable moments and signature British humor and a lot of sexual innuendos, let's be frank, that just oozes a whole lot of charm and personality, you really can't go wrong here. I'm sure I didn't quite catch all the references made throughout the game, probably because I'm simply too German to have understood them all, but I was thoroughly entertained anyway. Despite being a little on the shorter side as far as pure story length goes, I think it's one of the best games that came out this year. So with that, I leave you to your thoughts for the time being. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I did making it, and I'll see you in the next one.